enormous array of things beginning with N. Please welcome the Nephiligenious Jerry Springer. The non-curantist Matt Lucas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
The noctivagant Cariad Lloyd. And Nacky, no, it's Alan Davies. Have you been described as Nephiligenious before, Jerry?
Not recently.
It's a wonderful word. It means producing clouds of smoke. And Cariad, noctivagant, means night wandering.
That is true.
So mind you don't do that when Jerry's producing clouds of smoke.
Sleepwalking. It's a sleepwalking thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you sleepwalk at all?
No, I don't sleepwalk. I'm a grown-up.
Well, that's told the rest of us. Right. And their buzzers have been lavishly personalised. Jerry goes... Jerry! We're a bit excited that you're here, Jerry. Matt goes...
No, but oh my God, I still can't believe you just said that.
Cariad goes...
I don't have a famous catchphrase.
Always Cariad, always Cariad. Oh, look, there's Cariad Lloyd.
Now.
I've got a theme tune.
You've got walk-on music.
Yeah.
Alan goes...
Alan! Alan!
Anyway, moving on. Now, I've got a list here, OK, of the Christian names of the first 200 parachutists to land in Normandy on D-Day. I'd like you to give me the name of any of them.
Their Christian name?
Any Christian name? Yes, from
Vladimir.
Vladimir, we're going to start with.
Yes.
Another first name?
Mordecai.
Mordecai? Well, not that. So we've got 200 choices in here. 200.
John, Dave, William.
Enid.
Are you suggesting that it's Alan?
They were dummy people.
They were dummy people. You're absolutely right. The very first Allied parachutists into Normandy consisted of 200 dummies, 6 men, some gramophones and a pigeon.
That is a good night.
It's the classic. It's the absolute classic. The 200 dummies were a diversionary tactic. Sure. The 6 men were SAS troops. I like this. They played battle noises on gramophones to divert the Germans from the real airdrops which were going on elsewhere. And the pigeon was a carrier strapped to the very first man to land. So the first soldier to land was called Norman Poole. I think they thought Normandy. Norman. Let's have Norman. But the very first ones were 200 dummies, and they were all called Rupert, because British soldiers often referred to their officers as Ruperts. They were only 2 foot 9 inches tall, but from the ground they would have looked full size. So I've got helmets for you. If you wouldn't mind, just stick those on there.
Just following orders.
Because we're going to show you from the ground what the parachute drop would have looked like. It would have looked like this. Possible you didn't need the helmets, but then it is possible that you would need them.
Sorry.
I needed it, yeah.
So those are replicas, obviously, of Ruperts. They contained firecrackers so that when they landed, it sounded like they were firing.
This one is anatomically correct.
They distracted nearly a full German division, and in 2013, a Rupert was discovered in a garden shed in the UK, and nobody knows how he got back. We have a real one here, which comes from the Museum of Army Flying in Middle Wallop. Wow. Don't you love this country? We have a place called Middle Wallop. It is accompanied by his curator, Susan Lindsay. Thank you, Susan. Do you not think that is the coolest thing? Because how Rupert survived and made it all the way back to the UK, absolutely nobody knows.
It's cool, but it's not as cool as Kanye.
It
It's cooler than Kanye.
Really?
Yeah, I
Kanye
think
sounds
so.
like something you'd cure with yoghurt. You can take your hands off. Here's the thing. When they took the pigeons in, they either were strapped onto somebody or they had a little parachute and they were dropped in a container. And in Monmouth, in Wales, there was a factory that just made pigeon parachutes. And in the United States, the Maidenform bra company stopped manufacturing bras just to make pigeon vests and pigeon parachutes. And there was another extraordinary thing, and you can see a replica also at the Museum of Army Flying, of something called the Hummel car. Look at that. It was a wooden glider, large enough to take a 7-ton tank. Do you not think that's incredible?
Yep.
But would they just drop the tank?
No, I mean,
right.
they would land.
Oh, I see. It wasn't the same as the pigeons and Rupert. They didn't just go, good luck, tank, and then just shove it off.
It's a new way of using a tank. You just drop it on the enemy.
Yeah.
You don't even bother. Lots of soldiers in Normandy were wearing what underneath their uniform?
Oh, Kanye West T-shirt.
They wore pyjamas.
Did they?
Did they have a swimming exam later? To get home. Get the brick.
It was for comfort. And J.D. Salinger was present, carrying in his backpack the very first 6 chapters of Catcher in the Rye. It's just an extraordinary thought, isn't it? Yeah. My favourite story from that time is Lord Lovat. He was the commander of the 1st Commando Brigade. He took with him his personal bagpiper. This is very British to do this. He took with him Bill Millen, who was his personal bagpiper.
In the hope that he'd get shot.
Well, the extraordinary thing is he walked slowly up and down Sword Beach in Highland dress, playing to encourage the Allied troops, and then he later piped the commandos through the French countryside, and the German snipers said, we didn't shoot him because we thought he'd gone mad. Jerry, now, this time that we're talking about, the Battle of Normandy, you were in the UK?
Yes, I'd been born 6 months earlier, yeah.
And where were you born? 'Cause
I was actually born in Highgate, in a tube station.
During an air raid? You were born?
Not during an air raid, but you didn't know.
Your mother just missed her train and...
Yes, yes. Women in the 9th month would often spend nights in the subway because those were the bomb shelters.
Have you been back to the station?
Yeah, and there's not even a plaque there.
Well, you need to have been conceived to have a plaque.
When you were mayor of Cincinnati,
Yes.
1977, is that right?
1977, 78.
Okay,
Oh, my God.
What are you doing in that picture?
Well, you know, when you're mayor, you also get a lot of ceremonial things to do, so there probably was some... Oh, I know, that's when I got circumcised.
That's when everybody got circumcised.
Is it true about Cincinnati that there is a full abandoned subway system that was never used that's underneath the city? Is that true?
They ran out of money, actually, and so it was never completed. But yes, there is...
So are there stations and... So,
yeah.
Why did they not do it?
It was before my time. If I were mayor, we would have finished that subway.
Quite right indeed. From Normandy to Newcastle now. We know why you take a canary down a coal mine, but why would you take a dead fish?
Is it one of those fish you put in your hand, like, you know, you used to get from the shop for £1?
Oh, for fortune-telling.
Fortune-telling fish.
Yeah.
So is it like, there is coal here, and then it rolls over and goes, no, the coal mining industry is gone.
Wow, that's like the saddest fortune fish of all time.
Well, if you brought a live fish down, they would be dead by the time you got to the bottom of the mine, so this just saves time.
That's true. Yeah, if you want to have a fish at all, just save time by killing it first.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe, because in some cultures, people eat fish. So maybe the people in the mine are peckish.
OK, we're in Newcastle.
Do they eat fish in Newcastle?
Oh, yes, they do. They have a little fishy on a little dishy when the boat... Dance for your daddy, my little laddie.
Yeah.
Is it possible you spend too much time with your small children? OK, so I'm going to give you a clue. The fish in the picture is glowing.
It does something down there that tells you that something's not right and it's time to leave. It's similar to the canary.
Well, the canary was used, of course, to work out if there was...
Poisonous gases.
If there was poisonous gases.
The canary would die first.
Absolutely. But in the 18th century, in the Newcastle coal mines, they used dead fish as lights. So some dead fish, not all, glow faintly, and they are safer than lamps in mines because of explosive gas. Unfortunately, the fish have to putrefy in order to be able to glow, so the smell must have been unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
But it's called bioluminescence, and they glow because of bacteria. And it's possible that the bacteria glow to attract living fish to eat the dead fish, and that helps the bacteria to spread.
That is incredible.
Yeah, cunning bacteria.
Yeah.
And it's been known about for years. Aristotle spotted that damp wood glows. Pliny the Elder, he recommended using, I like this, a walking stick dipped in a jellyfish's glowing slime as a torch.
When Kanye West played Madison Square Garden, he lit the show just with fish.
Dead fish.
Yeah.
That's the same as, you know, toxoplasmosis, that bacteria.
Yeah.
And it lives in cats. It wants to be in cats, but if it can't get into cats, it affects a rat or a mouse, it will make the mouse not scared of cats anymore, so that it's more likely to be ate by a cat.
Are you making this up?
No. And they have found that human beings who have toxoplasmosis are more likely to have car crashes. So the bacteria is trying to kill you so that a cat will find you. That is true.
Is this why we have these books to write this down?
It's also to write down what medication Cariad is on.
Toxoplasmosis, guys.
It is absolutely true what Cariad's saying. It is absolutely true. And, I mean, the world is so extraordinary. There are lots of sea creatures that glow when they're disturbed by a boat's wake.
Oh, yeah.
So that glows. And this is a serious issue. So in World War I, there was a German submarine tracked and sunk because it had disturbed enough bioluminescent organisms.
We could see where it was.
Yes,
and
exactly.
boom.
It glowed from the surface. And there is bacteria that's now been engineered to glow brighter in polluted water. So you could tell if water has been polluted because of that.
Usually you can smell it.
Yeah, there is that. And they can also use it various ways. For example, they can inject mice with genetically modified glowing herpes virus, and who hasn't wanted to have that at some point in their lives? And then scientists can examine how it moves through the body.
No, I don't know why it's glowing, honey.
Just one of those things.
Yeah. You get up in the night and you don't need to put the light. I can just find my way.
Jerry, did you know the phrase carrying coals to Newcastle? Is it a phrase with which you are familiar?
No, we don't say that in the States.
So, anybody here know this phrase?
They've got coal. They know about coal. You're giving them something they've already got.
So the idea is that you take it to an area that there's already lots of. So I don't know...
Oh, it's like taking sand to the beach. That's
yes,
what we
exactly,
say.
or cheese
Got
to
it.
Wisconsin. Here's the thing, since the coal industry's decline, the young seem unfamiliar with this phrase, so we're going to just try a little experiment. I would like you, audience, to put your hands up if you were familiar with the phrase carrying coals to Newcastle. And now could you put your hands down if you are aged over 30? Wow, it's hardly anybody. It's a commonplace idiom that seems to have died out pretty much in one generation.
Wow.
The Danes say "Gi bærer børn brød," which means give the baker's children bread. The Greeks had a wonderful one. It is bringing owls to Athens. So first of all, the owl used to roost in the rafters of the Parthenon. It was sacred, the owl, to the patron goddess Athena, and it featured on the beautiful, beautiful silver coins. So there was no point in bringing owls to Athens, either the real birds or the coins, because that would be pointless. They had plenty. We should think of some new ones, should we? If we can't have coals to Newcastle, what else could we have?
Fake tan to Essex.
What about bringing the footballer Andrew Cole to Newcastle? Because he used to play for Newcastle.
Well, that's so clever, I wish I'd thought of it. Now for a question on non-employment. What's the most painless way of sacking 24,000 people at the same time?
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
Just don't mention it.
Are they dummies again? Are they fake employees who never existed?
They are, and it did happen. So it was February 2016, Nigeria sacked 23,846 employees from the government payroll, all for the same offence. They didn't exist. And the move saved £8 million a month. They were ghost workers. It's a common problem.
Yeah.
And you get real workers collect fictional colleagues' payrolls. In 2011, a newborn baby was added to the government payroll and got £90 a month and a diploma. You can get high office as well. In 2007, Andre Kasongo Ilunga became the Minister of Foreign Trade in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, despite the fact that he was entirely fictional. The Congolese law is that there has to be 2 candidates for any ministerial post, right? So there was a politician called Kasimba Ngoyi, and he really wanted the role. So what he did was he invented a fake rival, this gentleman.
And the fake guy won?
Well, he... Kasimba assumed that the Prime Minister would choose the person he'd heard of. But unfortunately for Mr Ngoyi, the Prime Minister disliked him intensely and chose the fictional Mr Ilunga. And Mr Ngoyi later claimed that Ilunga had resigned, but the Prime Minister said he would only accept the resignation in person. Eventually, Ilunga was sacked. Possibly for non-attending. But there was a guy, a Spanish water board employee called Joaquin Garcia. He bunked off work, well, we don't exactly know, but certainly it was over 6 years. He bunked off and read the Dutch philosopher Spinoza. And the water board thought that the council was employing him, and the city council thought that he was working for the water board. And it was only noticed that he hadn't turned up when he was awarded a special award for 2 decades of loyal service. And nobody could find him to give it to him.
That happened in Bristol by the zoo. There's a car park, and this guy every day would collect like £3 to park your car. And then one day he wasn't there, and some people were like, oh, where's Jeff at the car park? And they said to the zoo, where's your car park attendant? And they were like, we don't have a car park attendant. And he had been doing this for like 15 years. So he'd obviously just collected £3 every day in the really busy car park, taken the money and done a runner.
Yeah, it's a great story. It is unfortunately an urban myth.
Oh, no!
I know!
Oh, it's not true?
Is it definitely not true?
No, it is definitely not true.
Had several people tell it to me, though.
I hate when several people lie.
I know.
Yes.
People from Bristol who said they'd met him. Damn those liars.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think you're deflecting. I now don't trust anything you say.
I'm actually Kanye.
And you heard it here first. Now, which is worse, death or Norfolk?
Well, you could leave Norfolk.
Yes, that's a very good point. But it's not the English county of Norfolk that we are talking about.
Sometimes I think the questions on this show aren't quite what they seem.
Let me give you a clue, OK?
Yes.
So which newly discovered continent, beginning and ending in A, were most British convicts transported to in the 18th century?
Australia or Australasia. No,
nor Australasia.
Antarctica.
Not Antarctica.
America.
You are absolutely right. So 1718 to 1775, they were sent exclusively to America, at least 52,000 of them.
It wasn't America yet.
No, it wasn't even America yet.
Yeah.
And some people estimate that as many as 1/10 of the migrants to America during that period were, in fact, British convicts. And Australia was only used after the American War of Independence broke out, and then everybody thought, what a dangerous place. Let's send them somewhere else.
Is that the best image we could find for 52,000 people going to America?
It looks like the Ark. It looks more like it ought to have animals on it. But the Norfolk we're talking about is in Australasia, which is what you mentioned. It's a tiny little island called Norfolk Island. And in 1825, it was established as a penal colony for a penal colony. So it was for people who had committed crimes while already serving a sentence in Australia. Not a place that anybody you wanted to go. In fact, people who were sentenced to death on the mainland thanked God that they were not going to Norfolk Island. Some people hated the island so much they openly committed capital crimes. They openly would kill somebody just to be taken back to Sydney to be tried and executed because it was so horrendous. Have you been to English Norfolk, Jerry?
No, I haven't.
Never. It's fantastic. It's really, really beautiful. It has places called Misery Corner, Vinegar Middle, and there's also a place called Tuzzy Muzzy. There used to be a place called Nowhere, in which 16 people lived in 1861. Sadly, now it's nowhere to be found. It's the last place in Britain where people regularly ate swan. So if you walk along the river, is it the Wensum? You can see the swan pits. Anybody tried swan? No. Eat the swan?
Not allowed, are you?
Yeah.
Well, you can if you are...
Quick.
If you're quick. If you go to dinner at St John's College, Cambridge, you can eat swan. But no, you're not normally allowed to. But they have become a sort of wonderful symbol of love. And in Boston Public Gardens, there are 2 swans, Romeo and Juliet, who've been together for over a decade, who represent love to the city of Boston. It was found out recently they should have been called Juliet and Juliet. So, there we are, just one of those things. In which country is the very highest peak of the Alps?
Isn't Mont Blanc the
Tallest.
So where is that?
Where is it, Matt?
Italy, I think.
Multiple.
It's on the border.
It is exactly on the border. The French-Italian border, in fact, passes directly over Mont Blanc's peak. But the very highest peak of the Alps is not up there.
Mont
It's
Blanc.
neither in France nor in Italy.
Switzerland.
I'm going to go for Switzerland, OK? I want you to think unlikely, and I want you to think, you know, like a flat
Is it
place.
that the Alps go much further?
No, it's in the Netherlands.
Really?
Wow. There was a Swiss geologist called Horace Benedict de Saussure, born in 1740. He led the very first expedition up Mont Blanc. When he got to the top, he took the top as a souvenir. It is now in the Tylers Museum in Haarlem, in the Netherlands. I'm going to guess it's not quite that big.
No.
I'm going to guess that's...
And it's not floating in a
No.
museum.
He was a fantastic polymath, de Saussure. He's really worth looking up. He did so much for women's education because he educated his daughter Albertine. He's also described as the inventor of climbing, or alpinism. On his expedition, he took 2 frock coats, several waistcoats, his slippers, 2 cravats, a bed, a blanket, a mattress, and 18 guides. He was the one who got to the top.
Did he invent climbing?
Well, he invented the...
But people were climbing on the Alps before, and he came along and went, I would call this climbing.
I suppose people must have been climbing
Yeah.
before then, yeah.
For
Probably
fun.
same guy who told you the story about the parking lot.
Yeah. Always making things up. It's
Always
not
making-
right, is
yeah,
it?
Probably several people said.
Several people.
You've never had that on your show, have you? People making things up.
Well, that would be so wrong.
That would be very wrong.
It would be a good topic for the show. Is my friend claims he invented climbing.
And the women who love him.
Yeah.
Next. You can say any sentence in the world, and as long as you add "and the women who love him,"
Yeah.
then you got a show.
My Labrador and the women who love him. So the highest point of the Alps may be in the Netherlands. Where is the highest point of the Netherlands?
Well, a lot of it's below sea level, isn't it? It's not high at all.
Yes, but it might not be necessarily in the low areas. Where might it be? Somewhere else
Have
in
they
the
got
world?
a colony of some
They
kind?
have a municipality.
In Africa.
No, it's in the Caribbean.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
right, Caribbean.
There's an
Nice.
island called Saba.
Oh, lovely.
I say island, it's pretty much just a volcano. It's 887 metres high. It is nearly 3 times higher than the tallest bit of the European Netherlands. The highest bit of the Netherlands is in the Caribbean. There's a Dutch province called Drenthe, and the highest point in Drenthe is a 56-metre-high Vamberg. So that is a landscaped former rubbish dump. This thing I've taken the top off. So there was an artist called Oscar Santillan in 2015, and he removed the topmost inch of Scarfell Pike.
Why don't they just leave these tops there? Why are they taking them off?
No.
He made everybody very cross in Cumbria. The managing director, Ian Stevens of Cumbrian Tourism, said, "This is taking the mickey. We want the top of our mountain back."
Really? You get a moil for that.
A moil. That's a Jewish gentleman who does circumcision.
That's
Yes.
right, yeah.
Yeah, that's painful.
It happens when you're 8 days old, so in theory you don't remember it.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
but you
I-
two are both in pain still.
I'm still limping, yeah.
You know. I don't care if it was a subway station. I'll remember.
Wow, I'll never see Highgate Station in the same way again. So much for some big features in the nation of the Netherlands. But what is Britain's biggest national secret?
If we tell it, it won't be a secret anymore.
Ah, well, that is true, and that was a thing that worried people for a long, long time. So we're in
Was it-
London.
Right.
Was it the-
The London Tower or something up
It is
there?
a tower. The
It's
tower
the
is
Shard,
right,
the secret.
Jerry.
Is there some enormous building that isn't supposed to...
Yes, there is an enormous building that was a secret for years and
The-
years and
The
years.
Gherkin.
BT
The post
Tower.
office tower.
BT
Oh, the
Tower
BT
is
Tower.
exactly right. It was built in 1965. It was considered such an important part of the telecoms infrastructure that it was classified as an official secret.
Because no one can see it.
No, I know.
Oh, my God.
It was Britain's tallest building. It contained a public viewing gallery and a revolving restaurant. Nevertheless,
I went to that place once for a charity event.
Yeah.
And Rick Astley was singing. It's wonderful. And I went to the loo, which is in the middle. And when I came out the loo, it had revolved, and I came out right on stage next to me. It's never going to give you up.
it was was technically illegal to take photographs of the tower under the Official Secrets Act. It wasn't included in any Ordnance Survey maps until the mid-1990s.
Oh.
In a 1978 case, a judge would only refer to it as Location 23. And in 1993, the MP, Kate Hoey, spoke in Parliament to state the location. She said, "I hope that I'm covered by parliamentary privilege when I reveal that the British Telecom Tower does exist and that its address is 60 Cleveland Street, London." But the restaurant was fantastic. Did you ever
Nice.
go to the revolving restaurant
No,
at the
no,
top?
I haven't been.
It was just glorious. And in 2009, BT said they were going to reopen it. And anybody who's ever had a promise from BT will know that that never happened.
But you get a lot of emails saying your order's on its way.
Yes. But the location of the post office tower, not the worst ever breach of national security. So the English historian Peter Hennessy, in 1963, the 25th of June, he said, Britain was left entirely unguarded against nuclear attack because every single screen of the ballistic missile early warning system was tuned to the cricket. What's the best cure for nostalgia?
Is it actually living in the actual past and staying there? And then you don't need nostalgia because you're still living in it.
But wouldn't you be nostalgic for the 100 years before?
Yeah, would there not be a period? There's always going to be a period behind.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even the Dark Ages.
Do you get nostalgic, Jerry?
Yeah. Smell.
Yeah.
If you smell something, it brings back a memory.
Straight away, isn't it?
Cigarettes in pubs.
Yeah.
Do you miss them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smell affects your memory part more than sight or touch or anything. It instantly affects your
Yeah.
memory.
My wife, when she smells beer on me, she knows where I've been.
Other things you were nostalgic for, Ellen?
I'm not a nostalgic person, no.
But that's probably good.
I think the future is going to be great. The past, whatever.
I'm nostalgic for when Alan used to be nostalgic. It was a lovely time.
Those were the days. Well, in the 18th and 19th century, it was seen as a deadly disease
Really?
to be nostalgic.
Oh,
It was
I
known as
agree.
Schweizkrankheit, or Swiss illness, because Swiss soldiers were apparently particularly prone to it. And in the American Civil War, more than 5,000 men were diagnosed with nostalgia, and 74 allegedly died from it. In fact, the Unionist army was forbidden from playing Home Sweet Home in case it brought on an attack.
That the past makes you upset. I found, and when I wrote my book, this is not a plug, it's out of print, no one bought it. But it was part memoir. That meant a lot of going back through childhood memories, and it's not pleasant, it's not nice. It's much better to look forward. It hasn't happened yet. You can invent it. You know, there's the only one thing I would like to have is my grandmother's trifle.
Oh, was it particularly good?
Oh, it was so good. She died in 1974. And it went with her. No
you
one knew how
tried
to
to
make
recreate
it. I
it?
don't even know how she did it. No one knows how she... Grannies everywhere, write down all your recipes so that we can continue to
Funny
have
enough,
them.
I just bought a book for my kids for all the things that I've learnt from previous generations, and I'm starting to write the recipes down. I do think it's
Yeah, I
important
think
that
that's
we
a good idea.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you've just tuned in, this evening's episode was a tribute to Cariad, Jerry, Sandi and Alan, who all very sadly died of nostalgia.
Haven't worked out what the best cure is. A Russian general came up with it in 1733.
Vodka? Did it involve vodka?
It
in
didn't
some
involve
way?
vodka. What he did was he warned the troops that the very first man to come down with a case of nostalgia would be buried alive. And cases plummeted.
Yeah.
The suspected causes of nostalgia were unfulfilled ambition, poor hygiene, coming from farming stock, and masturbation. Those were the...
I've got two of those.
Me too, and I've never been on a farm.
It was declassified as a disease as late as 1899.
What was?
Nostalgia,
no.
yeah, no.
It's a shame.
That's still troublesome, yeah.
I miss it.
Actually, it can be useful. It is thought to protect slightly against cold, so people can stand the pain of icy water for longer if they focus on
Who
nostalgic
writes this
memories.
stuff down?
So you mean if you're trapped in a freezer by a gangland criminal, you just say to someone, do you remember when we weren't trapped in this freezer? You're going to make it.
No, I think you have to think about Grandma Davies's trifle, I think you have to.
OK,
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
The weird thing was, when we went round to her house, there weren't enough chairs around the table, so she would produce this stool from the... I was going to say...
Some things probably keep to yourself.
stool was an actual stool. It wasn't a, you know...
She was your grandma and you loved her. And that's all that matters today.
Here you are. It's a stool. And we all wanted to sit on the stool, even though it was the wrong height for the table and was uncomfortable.
Why did you want to sit on it?
I don't know. It's different from a normal chair. As soon as one kid wants the stool, everyone wants the stool. I'd like the stool and the trifle. Everything else, I don't care.
Now for something completely different. Alan, are you a narcissist?
I know, I don't like looking at myself. I would take either of those two lives ahead of my own.
Yes or no? Are you a narcissist?
No, I'm not.
No, so that is correct. And this is a complete reversal of the usual format, because whether you said yes or no, we are going to give you 2 points.
Oh.
And that is because in the standard modern test for narcissism, research shows that narcissists feel so good about themselves, they don't mind admitting it. So if you think you are a narcissist, then you are. Would you say that you were a narcissist?
Yes.
Totally fine. What about you, Jerry? You say you're a narcissist?
No, I've got a mirror. That depresses me.
But, I mean, you're asking the star of the Jerry Springer show.
Oh.
Me a narcissist?
What about yourself, Cariad? Narcissist?
I wasn't until I got my own theme tune, and now I might be.
So the thing about narcissists, they rate themselves. They think that they are particularly intelligent, attractive, likeable, funny. They also think that they are unusually power-orientated, impulsive, arrogant, prone to exaggeration, but they just don't care. That is
Oh,
pretty
now
much
you've listed it. Yeah, now I am one. Yeah, now I am
one of those. But apparently we are in the midst of a narcissism epidemic.
Oh, I think we are. Look at the selfie. I mean, that is the ultimate.
yeah.
We live in the most narcissistic time of all.
The whole social media thing is...
This is a very, very narcissistic time. It's definitely for us five to cast judgment as we sit here talking, and those people just listen to us.
Let's do a quick test. Have a look at this poll, and I want you to tell me whether you are taller or shorter than it. So let's start with you, Cariad.
I'm just assuming I'm shorter because I'm shorter than most things.
Okay, you're going to shorter. Jerry, you think taller or shorter than that poll?
Oh, shorter.
Shorter? Boys? Alan?
I'm exactly the same height.
Exactly the same height.
I'm going to go with shorter.
It is interesting because none of you asked me how tall the pole is at all, and we have no clue how tall it is. But powerful people will tend to perceive themselves as taller. So Alan's the nearest to a narcissist that we've got.
But maybe they're tall people. Maybe all the powerful people are tall, and that's the problem.
You think there are no powerful small people in the world?
No.
Well, I'll have you know you could lose with such a remark.
I went to university with a very beautiful girl. She just thought she looked normal. She didn't realise how the world perceived her, that everybody would literally see her and just smile. If she didn't have enough money at a cafe, they'd be like, don't worry about it, you're so beautiful, just don't worry about it.
Wow, do you know what happened to her?
And she's very happily married. Yeah.
I wanted it to have turned out shit, didn't
No.
you? In mythology, of course, we get narcissism from...
Narcissus.
Narcissus.
Gazing in a pond.
It's a beautiful picture by John William Waterhouse, and he became so transfixed by his own reflection that he was unable to drag himself away, and he stayed there and was eventually transformed into a flower. What flower was he transformed into?
Oh, self-raising.
So what did you say?
A narcissus?
No, it's one of those weird things.
Oh.
It's not connected. So we think that the scientific name for the daffodil is connected, but in fact that relates to the narcotic quality of the bulb.
Oh. Did he turn into a lily?
We don't know. We have no idea. But the
Why
reference...
would you ask? Because then you don't even have the answer.
Some things are unknown, Matt. That's OK. What's curious about him is that he seems to have bothered to wear a hat. It's a big hat near his elbow there.
The painter's tribute to his mother, his grandmother.
Yeah.
He could have put a stool there.
Anyway, moving on. Now, he has 5 faces and bigger sperm than you. I'm not really talking to you, Cariad, in this instance.
5 faces.
Is it a type of fish?
It is a creature.
Oh, so it's not just some old actor with a lot of facelifts.
Just one after the other. I like that. No.
A pyramid.
A pyramid?
Well, the Egyptian pyramids, I mean, that has 5 sides.
Yeah, it's more of a creature than... it is fair to say that more of these probably than almost any other creature.
Is it a bacteria?
It is not a bacteria, no, but it can be very, very tiny.
Is it a type of beetle or insect?
It's called a nematode, and it is a
yeah.
kind of round worm, and they are extraordinary. So there is one, there it is, Pristionicus borbonicus. It grows one of 5 different faces as it matures, depending on whether it's going to eat microbes or other worms. It's called polyphenism, and it's when animals change their form, they change into different forms depending on the environment. But OK, here is the really extraordinary thing about the nematode. We know about more than 20,000 species, so they compare that with 5,000 mammals, but some scientists believe that there are more than 1 million undiscovered species, and they are everywhere. Some of them are so small that it would take 20 to 30 of them lying end to end to equal the thickness of a single average coin. There are some species that live exclusively in vinegar, in bookbinding glue. There are some that use slugs as taxis. They do. They use slugs as taxis to carry them to a new food source.
They're cheaper than Uber, I guess, aren't they?
And their sperm is bigger than human sperm.
Well, all nematodes.
Not all of them.
Yeah?
I was going to say.
Do they just get one of their sperm and lob it at the female?
So not the tiny, tiny little ones, but the very first one that I talked to. Why might bigger animals produce smaller sperm?
I can't tell you how many times I've asked that question.
Because the bigger animals have got less to prove.
No, the bigger you are, the more sperm you need to produce to increase the odds that you're going to make one. That is the thing. So you need lots of them.
Good.
Tiny animals can produce fewer sperm.
Oh, I see.
So they can make them much bigger. But don't you love the idea? They use a slug as a taxi to get them to a new food source. So they get themselves eaten, they travel to a different bit of the garden, they are then excreted, and they have this...
How do they not get digested?
Because they have a cuticle, a sort of thick skin that is totally resistant to both acids and alkalis.
That's what you need when you get on the tube.
So they avoid being digested.
Wow.
Anyway, now it's time for our weekly brush with general ignorance. Fingers on buzzers, please. Which of these 2 men has stronger muscles?
I can't believe you just said that.
Well, the one on the right certainly has bigger muscles, but maybe the muscles on the left are stronger because they're not as strong and yet they're still working for
Stop now,
Yeah,
you're doing so well.
Or is the answer, we just don't know?
No, pound for pound, bodybuilders have weaker muscles than normal people. So one of the reasons bodybuilders are so strong is that they have a large amount of muscle, but the muscles they do have are, in fact, weaker. But here's the thing. If you don't have muscles, but you have a really good imagination, you can exercise your muscles. So, say your hand is in a cast, you can prevent yourself from losing muscle mass by simply imagining yourself using your hand muscles.
Wow.
Well, I'm just imagining myself winning the show.
I'm imagining myself using my hands.
Moving along...
With prosthetic limbs, if you lose a limb,
Yeah.
and you know you have phantom pains
Yes.
often, so if they've lost a hand, they still feel it. They get a mirror, and if they wiggle that hand but use the mirror to make it look like the other hand, the pain goes away. So again, you can trick your brain.
But do you not think that
muscles.
is the most extraordinary
Yeah.
thing, how the brain can be used in that way?
Yeah,
and
it's
you can
incredible.
trick yourself. Yeah, I think it's extraordinary. Now, which of Shakespeare's plays wasn't performed at first because it was believed to be cursed?
Cariad, Lloyd.
Is it Richard II? Because the language was so provocative.
It's a good choice, but it is not Richard II.
Was it Midsummer Night's Dream in which I played bottom and got the best reviews of my career?
No.
Is it the one that was playing when the Globe was burnt down?
It is the one that was playing.
Oh,
Is that
no sex, please, we're British.
That's it.
Run for your wife.
1613 is a
Yeah.
production of Henry VIII.
Henry VIII! I was going to say Henry VIII!
And it was the very first recorded performance at the Globe, and they fired a cannon as one of the sort of special effects, and it hit the
hit the Globe,
straw
yeah.
of the thatched roof, and theatre burnt down. I have to say, nobody was injured. The only risk to life was one man's breeches caught fire, and his friend put him out with a bottle of beer. That's the...
Theatres used to burn down all the time. And one theatre was burnt down about 400 or 500 years ago because one guy advertised that he could squeeze himself into a quart bottle on stage. And so thousands of people turned out to see him, and when it was just a...
Weirdly, he couldn't do it.
Yeah, weirdly couldn't do it, and there was a riot and the theatre burnt down.
Why don't they do that on Britain's Got Talent?
Yeah.
Have you been to the Globe Theatre that was rebuilt?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. It's really wonderful. And what I loved about it, when they were excavating to build the present one, they discovered a layer of hazelnut shells, and it allowed the rainwater to filter through. So when they rebuilt it, the theatre sourced 7.5 tons of hazelnut shells from Turkey, and they were flown over on a military transport plane and used in exactly the same way. But what is the play that actors have often treated as being cursed?
Well, I don't want to say it because it's cursed to say it, but Macbeth. And the reason you're not supposed to say Macbeth is because traditionally, when repertory companies were doing a play and no one was coming, what they would do is quickly put on Macbeth, which was in their repertoire, because people always came to see Macbeth. So if you were putting on Macbeth, it was the thing you really wanted to do was a disaster.
But, I mean, there have been some examples. So in 1947, there was a guy called Harold Norman. He was an actor who poo-pooed the superstition, and he was playing the lead in the Scottish play, and he died at Oldham Coliseum in 1947 playing Macbeth when he was accidentally stabbed with a real sword. 1849, there was a British actor called William Charles Macready and an American called Edwin Forrest. They were both playing Macbeth at different theatres in New York, and their fans rioted as to who was the most successful, and more than 20 people died and more than 100 were injured.
Oh, my God.
I know. But nobody was superstitious about the Scottish play in Shakespeare's lifetime. Name America's biggest fault.
Donald Trump?
Now,
Yes.
Is it not going to be the San Andreas fault?
It is not the San Andreas, you're absolutely right. It is not even the most dangerous fault line in California. So here's the thing, California sits across 2 continental plates, the Pacific and the North American. There's dozens of fault lines between them, and the maximum size of earthquake that the San Andreas fault could cause is 8.2 on the moment magnitude scale. The nearby Cascadia subduction zones, just off the coast, is far more dangerous. A huge rupture along it could release an earthquake 30 times stronger than the San Andreas. I mean, that is half as large again as the quake that caused the Indian Ocean tsunami on Boxing Day in 2004. So it is a huge thing. They estimate a big earthquake would cause a tsunami up to 100 feet high.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes indeed. And that brings me to the matter of the scores. Well, my goodness. In first place, with a magnificent 7 points, it's Cariad! In second place, with minus 26, it's Jerry! In third place, with minus 36, Matt!
Very proud. I'm very proud. Thank you.
With a breathtaking minus 56. Fourth place! Our thanks to Jerry, Cariad, Matt and Alan. Tonight, I'm going to leave the last word to Jerry.
Watch this show or I'll kill my dog. Take care of yourself and each other.
Good night!
Explore the science of everyday life with Radio 4's Infinite Monkey Cage tomorrow afternoon at 4:30. And Mel and Sue back together here on BBC 2 tomorrow night. Insert name here at 10. Stay with us next tonight for Master Snooker.